Okay, so let's get started. I appreciate everyone who takes taken time out of their day to come. We had over 50 people register. Once again, I wasn't expecting all 50 to show up just because not everyone can attend. I also do that if I find a webinar that I want to learn about and listen to, and it's at a time where it doesn't work for me, and it does say that they will send out the recording after. I always like to sign up. I actually watched one last night. So if there's any technical difficulties, if you can't hear me at times, please put it in the chat. I've got my other screen open here to be able to monitor the chat because it is hard to see the chat and stuff like that when you have your full screen open. So I'm just going to make sure I've got it open over here. Okay. So today we're going to learn about WordPress and why I love it so much, why I use it for all my websites, and hopefully you learn a little something. Okay, we'll do a little housekeeping. So it is best if you put your questions in the chat and turn off your video and microphone. We've all been on those meetings where something's going on in the background and no one can hear anything. And the video, for the purpose of that, it's just because it's really tough for everyone's internet to keep up with my voice, my video, and my screen, along with everybody else's video. So even at some point, I might just turn off my video just so that we can focus on the presentation slides. So you don't really need to see me, you need to hear me. And at any time you have questions, please put them in the chat. There'll be a Q&A at the end, but that way you don't forget what your question was. Throw them in there anyways, and then we'll review all the questions at the end, even if we might get it answered throughout the presentation. But still, anytime, throw your questions in the chat. Let's keep it positive. No spam in the chat, please. Just questions in WordPress. But there will be a Q&A at the end. I'll leave about 15 to 20 minutes at the end where we can go over some questions, and I'll do my best to answer them. Once again, this is recorded for the people who did register but couldn't attend. So in the chat, I would love to learn a little bit more about you and whatever you're comfortable putting in there. So what city you're from, only if you're comfortable. It's just really cool to see where everyone's coming from. Do you currently have a website? What platform is it in? So this would be WordPress or Shopify, Wix, Weebly, Squarespace. Are you currently stuck on something? Like, are you really struggling with something with your website? And what is the number one thing you want to learn today? Doesn't mean I'm going to be able to answer all of your questions when it comes to what's that number one thing you want to learn today, but it will help me put together some resources that will be emailed out afterwards. So if there are some things that you're wanting to learn and I don't cover it today, I can definitely find a blog post on it or record additional videos. So it's really just cool to learn a little bit about you, where you're currently at, and where you're from, only if you're comfortable. So I'm going to leave that up just for a moment so that everyone can see the slide of what questions I am asking. And you can throw them there in the chat, which I have open on my other screen. So we have someone from Burlington. I'm from Brantford. Let's take a moment just in case anyone else wants to throw that in there. We have Brantford, we got Simcoe, we have all the way from Invermere, BC, which is the community I used to live in before moving to Brantford. So you guys can keep putting it in there as you'd like, but I'm going to save the chat afterwards because that way, if I do need to send out additional resources or reach out to anyone if they're stuck on something that would be a 2-second little tutorial, I will save that in there. We got from Paris. Okay. So once again, if you feel comfortable, you can put it in the chat what city you're from, your website, the platform, and what's your biggest struggle, and what are you hoping to get out of today? Okay, so a little bit about me. Some of you might know me, some of you might not. I did put this all over the place, so some of you might be new to who I am. So my name is Samantha Gernhardt. You can call me Sam. And we moved to Ontario from British Columbia early March 2020. The kids were in school for 2 weeks and then it went virtual. Our first night in our house was March 12th. And I think days later is when the province completely shut down. So that was fun. We're really happy that we bought the house in January of 2019 because months later it would have been insane. I've been in business for over 16 years. I started my business right out of high school, like the August after graduating. And it was very interesting to start a business at that time. It's the resources and the support and the funding and the grants that are there now were not there then. So it's been very interesting to see that journey of what I've taken and the resources that are out there now. But yes, I started my business 16 years ago. So this coming summer will be my 17th year in business. And when I describe to people what I do, I talk about my 3 categories: marketing, web, and graphics. And really everything and anything under those categories. So my background education is in marketing management and web development. So I took coding courses. I am really nerdy. I can look at the code of a website and know what it's supposed to look like on the front end. So when I started making websites, we were building them in HTML and CSS. There was WordPress at that time, but it wasn't as popular as it is now. So we were hand coding websites. So yes, I can hand code websites and I love it. I really do enjoy making websites and I'm really good at it when it comes to the code and when someone's stuck on something and I can go in the code and fix it. So I'm a busy mom to 3 kids, which they're all home this week. I didn't send them this week in hopes that we can still enjoy Christmas with family next week. So do bear with me if you hear them in the background. My husband's on duty. Like, please keep them quiet. So just to warn you that you might hear them. My oldest is going to be 10 in February, and then I have a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old. So they keep me very busy, and they're going to be at home for the next 3 weeks straight. I might regret that. And I love teaching and sharing the knowledge. So I've done a lot of webinars like this. I have put them on myself, like today, and through other resources, such as the Brantford Resource Center. I've done quite a few through them. I also teach at colleges. So I'm going to be teaching at Conestoga in the new year. I'm going to be teaching 3 web development courses, and one of them is WordPress. I'm so excited for that. And I've taught at 2 other colleges in the past. And actually, the college that is in Invermere, BC, which is where we just moved from, they're having me still teach online for the new year. So I really do enjoy teaching. One of the things that sets me apart from competitors is that I teach people how to use their website after. I teach people how to use the social media I created them after, so that they can actually take it and run with it, or maybe a staff member can manage their site and stuff like that. But I provide all these training videos after I complete their site, so they can go in and do that weekly or monthly stuff and those simple edits without having to rely on me. And that also just gives them more knowledge of what their site can actually do and what everything is for in there. So they just feel a bit more comfortable going in and editing those things and not have to email me and go, oh, I want to change this paragraph. They have the control over that. So I actually provide all that training. All right, so we're going to get started. Once again, keep the video and the microphone off, just so that hopefully we don't get any lagging or having me freeze. And As questions pop up in your head, please put them in the chat. So when I look over, that's what I'm looking at, is the chat, because I've got it open on another screen. That way I don't have to keep exiting out of this, and I can keep it open. And at the end, we will go over those questions or ideas or anything. All right, so here I love stats, which is really interesting because I'm a designer. I also design stuff, really creative, but then I love the stats and the insights and the coding part of things. WordPress is used by more than 40.5% of the top 10 million websites as of March 2021. So when it comes to the share of the different platforms that are available to have websites on, WordPress is 40.5% of that. So what is WordPress? So we're going to start at the basics, just for anyone that might not even know what WordPress really is. Some of you might know about it or have a website on it or is considering it, but doesn't fully know what WordPress is. So WordPress is a free open source content management system. What does that mean? So we're going to break it down. So the free open source, it is free to download and install. You do not have to pay to download or use the program. And then content management system. We hear that all the time. People say CMS. So that means you can update and maintain your website yourself without having to code HTML or any CSS. It is a user-friendly interface. Do I code in it? Yes, because that's my background. So do I go into that code and stuff? Yes. But do I expect clients to do that? No, it's still very friendly that I can provide them with training so they can go in and put in new blog posts, maintain their products, change the content and stuff. So make sure that we don't have anyone waiting. I don't think so. I think we're all good. Everyone's in. So here's some reasons why I love WordPress and why I'm a bit biased, obviously, because I've been working on it. I think I found WordPress around 2008. I can't quite narrow down the year. I know for sure I was using it by 2010. And I started my business in 2005. So somewhere in there that I came across WordPress and fell in love because it met all of my needs and client needs. So I want to go over why I use it. It's a coder's playground. So for people like me who actually have a background in coding, it's fantastic. It's our playground. It really is. There's nothing we can't do in WordPress. There's hundreds of themes and plugins, and we'll go over that a bit more. But themes is the layout, the template. But for WordPress, we call them themes, and plugins are added functionality and features that we add to the site. It is user-friendly. There's endless support, and this is where the open source comes in, is that it's more community-based support. And so other people can create themes, other people can create plugins. It's not all just through the WordPress people. I can make a theme and put it out there for WordPress. I can make a plugin and put it out there, but then the code is open. So if I want to download a plugin and I want to customize it, I can. And the support, there's Facebook groups, there's forums. If I ever have an issue, I can find the answer for it. It can grow with your business. And this is what sets it apart from other platforms, is some of those other platforms only get them there so far. So we're going to dive deeper in it a little bit. So it's a coder's playground. My education in web is as a web developer. In the HTML CSS days, I create websites from the back end using code. I went to BCIT, which is in British Columbia, for the Applied Web Development Program. I learned HTML, CSS, PHP, JavaScript, XML, even some Flash, because at that time, people wanted Flash websites, which now Flash doesn't work. So when I started tinkering with WordPress, it was familiar territory for me, and I became very comfortable with it. I didn't need a designer because I could do it all with WordPress. So thousands in themes and plugins. There isn't anything I can't do for a client. Shopping carts, galleries, contact forms, integrating MailChimp, video, you name it, it can be added in. Some are free and some do cost, but it's still much better than having someone create that functionality from scratch. Why? Because there's already that plugin made for you somewhere. The possibilities are almost endless. I could say endless, but just to cover, almost endless. So once again, themes are the templates and plugins are added functionality. And how I relate it to is what a plugin to a WordPress site is what an app is to our iPhone. It's added functionality and features. It is user-friendly. I love that with a bit of training, my clients can manage their own websites without having to learn code. Technically, you can create your own website in WordPress, which I'll talk about more later in this webinar. But if you've never touched WordPress before, it can be overwhelming to learn as you go instead of having someone with experience create your website. Especially if you start to Google how to create a WordPress site, it could be a rabbit hole, and that's where it can be very overwhelming. But you can do it yourself. And there's endless support. There's lots of online how-tos and tutorials on creating a WordPress site. Also, at any point I hit a bump, I just Google it, and most times someone else has had that issue and I find a solution. Because it would be a common problem that I'd find on there through online communities, developers, programmers. There is an extensive community around WordPress. And it can grow with your business. Your WordPress website can grow as your business grows and changes. You can start off with a simple informational website for your business. And if in 2 years you decide you want to sell products to your website, all you have to do is install a shopping cart plugin. No need to start over with a whole new website. If at some point you want to change the look, the theme of your website, we don't have to start from scratch. We find a new theme, install it, customize it, and you're good to go. WordPress keeps the content in pages. So when I install a new theme, the media is still there, the posts, the pages, all the plugins. It's really just a new look and feel that you previously had along with any media you've uploaded over time. So it doesn't wipe it clean. This makes it easy to freshen up your website without starting from scratch each time. So what types of websites can you make with WordPress? So personal blogs, and that's what WordPress started off as, a blogging platform. I'm going to stop my video because it might be lagging a bit. Okay, so it started off as a WordPress site. A blog. That's what it was made for, was for blogging. And then it turned into where we can have business websites and e-commerce portals and job boards and business directories, Q&A websites, websites for nonprofits. It's not just businesses. Portfolio, online communities, coupons, and that's just a bit of it. There's nothing I can't do in it. I haven't had a client come to me saying, I want this type of website for this type of business, where I've had to say to them, oh no, WordPress is not the one for you. +500 sites are built each day using WordPress, while only 60 to 80 per day are built on other platforms like Shopify and Squarespace. So WordPress is still the most popular platform for creating your website on. So we're just going to compare. This isn't to put Shopify down. This isn't to, paint it in a negative picture. Just I work with websites every day, and I help businesses build them. And so I just have a different perspective than, say, if it was a Shopify employee. But this is just to show you the difference between these two. So Shopify is hosted on Shopify. Where WordPress, we need to get our own hosting with it. Shopify has it's a SaaS tool, and WordPress is open source. So I can do whatever I want with WordPress. I can go into the code, I can change it even more. Shopify is very limited when it comes to the look and feel. Usually we can tell a Shopify website without having to actually see if it is a Shopify website, just because there is limiting designs. Where WordPress, I can make it look however I want. I really can. Shopify is an out-of-the-box solution where WordPress does have a steeper learning curve. And Shopify can be anywhere from if you go onto their site, it could be anywhere from $9 to $300 a month. And with WordPress, you're really just paying for your domain and hosting, maybe some plugins that you wanted the premium version of it, but hosting can be anywhere from $100 a year to $300 a year at max. Templates with Shopify through their website are 100 to 180. They do have some free ones, but not as many. Or themes for WordPress are more $60 to $80, but there's tons of free ones. Shopify has backend updates. WordPress has visual editors. Shopify is e-commerce built in. That is definitely what it is for, hence the word shop in their name. And WordPress is an e-commerce plugin. So we need to just install WooCommerce, and then we have e-commerce. So it really is just a couple clicks of a button. And Shopify was founded in 2006, and WordPress, its initial release date was 2003. There are 75 to 90 million self-hosted WordPress sites in existence. And according to Shopify, the platform powers over 1 million stores. So we can still see that there's just more people using WordPress. It's been around longer too, so they have that advantage. And it is an open community. Gotta let somebody in. Okay, so the benefits of WordPress. So now we're going to talk about the pros and cons of WordPress. So WordPress software is free. It's open source and easy to use. I don't have to pay to use WordPress itself. You own your own website and all its data. Your site will not be turned off because someone decides that it's against their terms of services, as long as they're not doing something illegal. You are in full control of your WordPress website. You can add free, paid, and custom WordPress plugins to your website. You can customize your website design as needed. You can add any free or premium WordPress theme that you want. You can also create completely custom designs or modify anything you want. You can actually make money through your WordPress site by running your own ads without sharing revenue with anyone. And you can use powerful tools like Google Analytics for custom analytics and training. You can use self-hosted WordPress to create an online store, to sell digital or physical products, accept credit card payments, deliver, ship the goods, and that's all from your site. You can also create membership sites and sell memberships for premium content, courses, and build an online community. There are some cons. Obviously, there's always cons to stuff. So the cons for WordPress that make it different from the others is you do need web hosting. So this is where your website files are stored on the internet. Initially, the cost could be $3 to $10 per month. Sometimes that can increase depending on how much your website grows and the traffic that you get. But then you would hopefully be making enough money to cover those costs. You are responsible for updates, where the other ones, it has their own backend updates. But it's very easy to update our WordPress version, our plugins, our themes. It's a couple of clicks of a button. And then you are responsible for backups. So something happened to your site and it crashes and it's no longer there. We are responsible for our own backups, but there's plugins for that. And also there's some hosting companies that is part of the hosting package where it does daily or weekly or monthly backups, and it saves it on your hosting, which makes it really easy, because then if you do need to restore, last week's website version, it's just a couple clicks of a button in your hosting area. WooCommerce powers 22% of the top 1 million e-commerce sites in the world. So WooCommerce is the plugin that I use for all of my WordPress sites when they want online shopping or online ordering or the online e-commerce. And WooCommerce itself is also free to use and install. So how have I used WordPress for my own business over the last 16 years? So obviously I've had an informational website because I provide services. I've actually offered courses directly through my site. About 8 years ago, I had a course and I did it all through my WordPress site, where now we have things like Thinkific, Teachable, and other ones like that. But back then, I actually did it all through my site. I had my videos hosted through VMO Premium, and then I had a plugin that allowed me to do the drip content, like just like how it does on Thinkific, but I was able to do it on my site at that time. I've actually had multi-site directories. I've had actual products available on my site, like little mugs and, notepad books. And then I also currently have some of my services on my site where someone can just order it from my site. I've had a community event calendar. I've used it to grow my email list and subscriptions. So some of my services right now on my site have a subscription option. So that means they can say, yes, I need some monthly website maintenance for the next 3 months. They choose the 3 months and it will charge them once a month for the next 3 months of that price, which just makes it so much easier. I don't have to follow up. Do you still want to continue? It's automatic. It's been actually really great. It's been another income for me that I usually would forget to charge for. So that's been huge, having the subscription services. So I'm going to show you some examples of some sites I made just to kind of show you what it can do. So this is just a screenshot of some of the homepage. The homepage is longer than that. So they have informational pages. This is Inasphere Wines. So they have informational pages. They actually have online ordering, as we can see on the homepage there. People can pay for their orders through the site. They can also pick a day and time to pick up that order. So that was a plugin where they choose their day and time that they want to come and pick it up. And this plugin was created through WooCommerce when COVID hit and we were doing that whole local pickup. And so people can choose their stuff, pay for it, and then choose a day and time. And then the owner of that business knows, okay, they're coming to pick this up on this day and time. Payments and inventory syncs through Square. So they're currently using Square for their inventory of their products at their store. They can also take in-person payments through the Square. So if anyone's familiar with Square, that's what they're using as their payment processing and inventory. So to try to find a platform that can actually sync with that inventory through Square, at my knowledge, it's only WordPress. Now, other platforms will allow you to use Square to process your payments, but if you want to sync inventory, then it doesn't. WordPress is the only one so far that does it really great, that it actually works. I had a client who had a Wix site. She was using Square and it doesn't sync. She used Square for payments, but not inventory. So she was actually having to manage the Wix store and then her in-person Square. So this allows you to sync it. So people can order stuff off their site and it would change the inventory of their stuff actually in person. They have an Instagram feed, contact forms. There's even a sign up for their email that syncs with their MailChimp that we did. Here's another one, Focus First Dog Training. Hers is a service-based, so she has informational pages. We did an Instagram feed. There's a contact form. We have MailChimp integration, her testimonials, and her service packages. And then we have a Salon. So she has informational pages, ordering online also for the products that they offer in their salon. People pay for orders to the site. They also pick a day and time for their order. The inventory and payment sync with her Square, because she's using Square for her salon also. Instagram feed, contact forms, gallery, all of it's on there. So those are just some examples of the different things you can have on there through WordPress. So how to get started with WordPress, or even just a website in general. So I have this little checklist off to the right, your domain name, your email, and this could be, the email could be one that matches your domain. So my domain name is www.claritydesigns.ca. And my email is info@claritydesigns.ca. claritydesigns.ca. Now, if you're already using an Outlook or a Gmail or an email address like that, you've already using it for your business, you can keep it. It's really not a huge thing now of making sure that email matches the domain. No one's judging that. It's not a huge deal. And website hosting. So I'm going to mention there are 3 things you need to have a website, especially for WordPress: domain, hosting, and then your actual website. And I always relate this to a house. So your domain is the address of your house. So what we put into the computer for our website to show up, just like what you would put into Google Maps to get to the house. Hosting is space on the internet to upload our website, the files, the images. And so hosting would be the land your house goes on. And then the website, which is what people see when they go to your domain, so the website would be the house. And for a website, we cannot have one without the other. We can't have a website with no domain. We can't have a website without hosting. And you don't really have a website without the website part. So people always ask me, what is hosting? It is space on the internet, and we absolutely need it for a WordPress site. Number 4 on the list there is website building software. So that'd be WordPress. Number 5 is your website template design. So that would be a theme. And so I call that the tech stuff. So you need your domain and email, hosting. We're going to install WordPress. We're going to find a theme, install that. But then we need stuff to put on the site. And sometimes it's where some of my projects can get held up, is where I'm like, okay, well, I need your logo. I need your branding colors, your fonts, send over some images, and I need some content. That is a huge portion of your website, especially when you're creating it. So you're definitely going to need a logo, and that could be through someone like me who does logos, or somebody, or sometimes people buy them off Pinterest or Fiverr. I always suggest do it right the first time. Try not to make it yourself if it's not your thing. Try to get it done professionally the first time, so you're not rebranding in a year or 2 or even 6 months because you look back and go, oh no, I should have not done that. Images. These could be images that you have taken. Try to make them really beautiful. This could be you've hired a photographer, you've done a branding session, or you have some stock images. Image editors. So that would be, okay, you've taken some stuff on your phone. Now you need to edit the image, make it look better. Content. So you need content on your site about contact services, what you offer, content for the home page. And so this could be through yourself if you're a really good writer. This could be through a freelance writer, whether it's locally or someone in one of your networks. You can find someone who actually is really good and writes professionally. But content and images and the branding and the colors are a huge component of it. And then once you have your site done, you definitely want to connect it to Google Analytics. It is free, and it just allows you to have those website stats so that you can go back and go, okay, what's working for our marketing? Are people going to our site? Where are they coming to our site from, and how? It's a huge component. We could add on email list integration and all that kind of stuff, but the checklist here is at least the basics you're going to need. Domain, your hosting. For WordPress, we're going to install WordPress, choose a theme. We got our plugins, which are added functionality and features, our content and our images and logo. So as you can see here at this stat, there are a lot of plugins. So when someone says, I need a contact form, that's a plugin. I want to add on e-commerce, that's a plugin. I want a gallery, that's a plugin. I want a directory, that's a plugin. It's all plugins. And it just adds those added functionality. So as you can see with that number, it's out there. So when someone's like, oh, I need this type of functionality on my site, no problem. I'm sure it's out there, and it always is. And some are free and some are paid. But even the paid ones would be sometimes $20, $50, $80. And it's not, a lot of them are not a yearly cost. Where say with Shopify, some of them are a yearly cost and some of them are a monthly cost. And so unless you're making a lot of money through your Shopify site, it most times wouldn't cover what that app, in Shopify, they call them apps, but that app would cost monthly. Where a lot of our WordPress plugins that do have a fee, it would be a one-time fee or free. So here comes to what I'm currently working on. Sorry, took a drink of my coffee the wrong way. Oh, what is that? Someone in? Choking on my coffee. Okay. I'm currently working on and launching a new course. It's going to be online, self-paced, and complete 100% mentorship from me along the way. Because you can create your own website using WordPress 100%. So I'm offering a course that's going to be going live January 10th, but people can pre-order. So here's a bit about it. So learn how to create your own website using WordPress as your content management system. This course is perfect for a business owner who needs a website and has time to learn, or for someone who's wanting to actually grow or start a web design business. Course goes live January 10th, and I'm closing enrollment at the end of January, just so that we can really service the students that sign up basically from now until the end of January, because it's very hands-on, even though I have the content in there and it's self-paced. As you want to do it as you go, yeah, I'm still there to help you, because the goal is that you actually make a website in the end. So I'm just going to put the link in the chat of that actual page, and everyone in the webinar gets a $100 off coupon code. Let's talk a little bit more about it. So what you're going to learn in my course that I'm putting together, you're going to actually learn how to register a domain, set up hosting, set up an SSL certificate and what that even is, how to set up your email if you do want it to match the domain name that you registered, how to install WordPress. We're selecting a theme. We're going to install the theme. We're going to customize the theme. We're going to add in content. So we're going to actually create your home page, your about, your contact page, your services page. We're going to make your menu. We're going to put in a blog, and then installing plugins and much more. And that much more is also, I have a whole chapter in my course where I go over how to market your website. I make websites for people and we finish up, and then they're like, no one's coming to it. I'm not getting any orders. That's the marketing part. That's the next step. And that's really huge, because just because you have a house and you've got your land and your address, you got to invite people over, or else no one's coming. And so that's the marketing part of the site. And so I have a whole chapter of, once you finish your site, now how do we market it? And so I've got all those lessons in there, because that's also what I do. I market. I've been marketing since 2005. I also have a whole chapter on the plugins I use the most and why. I go over why I use each of them, how to install them, and how to set them up. So that'll be the MailChimp integration, how to install the WooCommerce. We don't actually go through the whole e-commerce part. That's a separate course, but I can at least show you how to install it and stuff. I also go over like, okay, the Instagram feed that I use on my sites, this is where it is. There's probably going to be about, probably a good 10 plugins at minimum that I use almost on every site. And I show you step by step of how do we install it, why, and how do we connect it to the site. So what's the cost of the course? So enrollment closes at the end of January. Basically February 1st, the enrollment will be closed, just so that we can really help this group of students who came on. And right now, this is the best price that it will be. And everyone who either signed up for the webinar or is attending today gets the $100 off webinar code. But the code after January 10th, which is when the course goes live, will be expired. So basically from today until January 10th, you can get $100 off on the webinar, but then it's self-paced and you take it on and start as you like. We have two payment options, $450 plus HST. HST is included in my price when you go to the sales page, because Thinkific doesn't allow you to add it on throughout the checkout process. Or you can do 3 monthly payments of $150 plus HST. That way it's affordable for everyone. So the prices on the course page that I put in the chat already include the taxes, and then you have a $100 off code, but that code can't be used after January 10th. But some bonuses with this course. So first, you get added into the exclusive community Facebook group with feedback and mentorship from me. You actually get lifetime access to the course, including future updates. So you don't have a time limit. You don't have to finish it by a certain time. You can dabble as you want. There's no drip content, so it's all in there when it goes live on January 10th. That way, if there's some sections that doesn't apply to you, you just skip over it. And then as I add more in and we get some feedback and think of more lessons and chapters to add into that course, you get access to that. And at the end, or when you feel like you're kind of done, or you're at a stage where you could utilize this, you get a 1 hour, one-on-one Zoom meeting with me. You can show me what the website you created. Maybe you need some training on it. Maybe you want to just pick my brain, or you're stuck on something, or you want me to show you how to set up some plugin that you just can't quite make it work. That is your 1 hour with me through Zoom, nobody else, to pick my brain and show me what you've done and see how I can help you complete what you've been working on. All right, so now it's 12:45, right on the dot. Oh, it's like I planned this. We can go into questions of whether it's the course or WordPress stuff. We do have some questions already in here that I'm going to open up here. Okay. Can you tell me a little bit more about visual editors and how they work? So themes now are made with a visual editor, and that would be things like Elementor or WP Bakery. Those are quite the most common two that I see when I am using a theme for a client. Elementor is probably my top pick, and they have a free and a pro version. I love the pro version. And actually, we're making a site right now where we're not even using a theme, we're using Elementor. So it is 100% custom. And it really allows the client and myself to make it in Elementor. It's click and drag. It's very user-friendly. And so a lot of them do use the visual builders now. And the most common and most preferred would be Elementor. I'm just looking here. Yes, so the plugins and updates. There are times where people can feel very uncomfortable clicking that update button. And that's where, if you have someone like me, they can go in and do it, or we make a backup, right? So if you're really concerned about, oh gosh, is this going to break my site? You can always do a backup of the site before you hit update on those, whether it's a WordPress version or plugin versions. I don't have a site that breaks down very much anymore. And they have a different feature now in the new WordPress version where it actually doesn't crash the site. It gives you an email to say, oh, hey, something's conflicting, and here's the name of it. So I can actually tell which plugin is not cooperating with the other plugins. So I can go in and remove it or update it. But by default, sometimes we just do a backup before we update, just in case, and that's what they recommend. But the newest WordPress version actually doesn't really crash the sites anymore. You don't need to restore them because it has a different system where you will get this email saying it's in safe mode and such plugin is causing the issue, so that you know which plugin to deactivate or delete if you don't need it. And so I can even try to find some resources on that. How do you integrate MailChimp into your site? So the one that I like the best for WordPress, it's a plugin, MailChimp for WordPress. So it's like M for WordPress. They short named it, but if you even just go into your Google WordPress plugins in the back and put in MailChimp, there will be a MailChimp for WordPress, and it connects with your MailChimp account that way. And I can definitely include a little, I'm sure that's online somewhere that I can include that in when I send out the webinar recording. So if anyone has any other questions, please put them in there. And I put the course link in there and your coupon code. If you have any questions about the course, it is possible to make a WordPress site yourself. Just once you start getting down that rabbit hole of Googling and researching, it can be very overwhelming. Just like with Canva, right? I know someone who's put together a Canva course, and even though Canva is free, just like WordPress is, it can be really overwhelming. Where do I start? How do I utilize it? Because Canva is a beast now. You can do anything in Canva. It's the same thing with the WordPress. It's just easier to learn from someone who's been doing this for 10 plus years and does it all day long. Right now, we are trying to wrap up about 15 websites by the end of the year. So I specialize in WordPress. An Etsy store. I'd have to look into the Etsy store. I'm assuming with the number of plugins you can integrate with Etsy store. I haven't needed to, but I can definitely take a look. And if I do find some resources on that, I can put that in. So what happens after the webinar is obviously this is being recorded, and you will also get the presentation slides. And so within 24 hours, you will get an email. Everyone who registered will get an email, and you'll have access to all of this along with the coupon code and the link for if you are interested in purchasing the course. Once again, you get $100 off, but that expires on January 10th. And the webinar registrations are the only ones that get the $100 off. And then after January 10th, it goes up to the $450 full price with tax, where if you get your $100 off, it's $350 plus tax. Is there any other questions? Any other resources someone wants? I hope everyone learned a little something today about WordPress, why I use it, and how it can really grow with your business. It is the best one to start off on. I have a lot of clients that start off on a different platform, and they come to me 3 or 6 or sometimes even a year later, and they're like, oh, I should have started with WordPress. And I'm like, come on in, let's get you started. Because the other platforms usually only allow them to do so much. And so as their business grows and they want their site to do this and that and offer this to users, it just doesn't do it. All right, so I'll be on here till 1. And if there's anything else, let me know. I'll get another question. So the 300 years about average, because you have to think like, if you pay for hosting a year, you can pay for hosting monthly, but usually you get a bit of discount if you do a year. So if I do 300 divided by 12, that's about $25 a month for hosting, which is that's in the middle. That definitely is in the middle. I use Rebel. They're actually out of Ottawa, and their team is out of Ottawa and in Ontario. They came highly recommended to me when I was ready to leave GoDaddy. And I've been with them almost 2 years, and they actually have a server out of Montreal, which makes my website so much faster than when it was with GoDaddy, because GoDaddy has a server in the States somewhere. And so with them, like the first year had a huge discount. And so I can get hosting with them for under $200 a year. You just have to shop around, depending on where you are. Do you want quality hosting or cheap hosting? Do you want to support, like, say, more of a local company? That's up to you. Like in BC, one would be Web Names, where they're private. It's their own business. Rebel is one that I recommend for out here. I've had clients that went from GoDaddy to Rebel also, where their mind was just blown on how much faster their site is now, how it's not crashing anymore. So hosting can range in price. 300 is about average, but that's for a whole year. So if you actually divide your cost for that year, divide by 12, you'll see that it could be anywhere from between $10, $20, $30 a month, depending on the package and what else you need included. So it doesn't mean like 300 years what they all offer. And there's many companies and providers out there, but I can definitely include a link in the after email of Rebel. And I just signed up a client with them. And it was under 200 a year for that first year. You get like 60 or 70 off. So some do sales and coupon codes and that kind of thing. Once again, any other questions, throw it in there. Also, you can email me. I'm on social media, Clarity Design CA. I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. There's my email down there, info@claritydesigns.ca. I am here to help. You can pick my brain. I have my website also, and I do have some resources on my website when it comes to WordPress, but a lot of the stuff is online. So if someone comes to me like, oh, I'm stuck on this, either I record a quick little training video for them, or I find a YouTube video that's already online or a blog that I can send them so that they can proceed with what they were trying to do. I'll be on here for another 5 minutes. It's up to you. You're more than welcome to head out. And if anyone does have any other questions, please throw them in there. Everyone, once again, within 24 hours, be sure to check your email, your spam. You never know where these emails go, but I will be sending out the link to this, the presentation slides, the link to my course with the coupon, and any other resources that have come up in the questions that I will pass along. And once again, you get $100 off my course if you pre-order it or